Welcome back to the weird and the wonderful with Strange Bones. That's me. So, as we get started, let's kick this off. Welcome, welcome.
Even if it's temporary, keyboard lights up.
It's like a hospital laptop.
Yeah, it's always a downgrade coming from a desktop.
And as we get going,
Like these guys, we were always debating.
I'm going to remind everybody that we are starting off this particular
You're traveling that much.
live with the fact that
Easier.
we are doing the second half of the last theme. I do hope you enjoyed the last one and are well ready for the next one. Welcome to everyone that's just joined. And as we get going, I'm going to remind you, thank you very much for the likes there. On this channel, we just have one rule, which is to say that don't be rude. If you are rude, you get the boot. We've had way too many trolls. But that said, we appreciate all kinds of comments. As long as you're polite about it, you can agree, you can disagree, you can add your opinions and more. And you're more than welcome to do exactly that. So comment, like, share, subscribe, do all of the good things. Remember that we will only let you on live if you are a known person because of the problems we have had in the past. But that said, comment away. Do all of the good things that help keep the channel going. It makes a very big difference, of course. Every comment matters and every like matters, and gifts are always welcome. But that said, we are sort of waiting for some of the people to join that promised would be on to add a little bit more opinion on the channel. And in doing that, we are going to quickly give ourselves a quick recap, just to let those of you who don't know what we were doing know what we were doing. And for that, we were talking survival. It was a request from one of you guys that we actually discussed it. And the idea was, what if we went all out and we said that there was an entire collapse of civilization and, 99% of people were gone and all the rest of it. So for the sake of argument and to give us something to work with, to show the varying levels of how survival works and how to think about it, we picked, so as not to upset any particular person, the zombie apocalypse. And we went with the Walking Dead style zombies, just for the sake of argument. What if? And the ultimate answer in that regard, of course, is that you have to work things in accordance with a number of levels and layers. The levels and layers matter a very great deal when it comes to survival in that regard, because it means that you are working your gear towards the understanding of the needs that will arise at specific levels. And there are certain things, of course, which are, regardless of who you are or what you are or how much you know, you will need. There are obviously levels that you could add on to, whereby if you have greater skill, that will become more important. And there are things that will become a great deal more important at very, very specific levels, which will only come into play dependent on what kind of a situation that you actually are seeing in that regard. So yeah, with that all said, there are three levels, in my opinion. Please understand, I do have a certain amount of experience in this, certain amount of training in this. I absolutely have been interested in this since I was about 5. Obviously, in the beginning, I was terrible at it, and I have learned over the years, and I have been developing this system that I use entirely based on the view of a civilian rather than a military survival, because for most of the time, but not all the time, I was a civilian. I obviously did spend a certain amount of time as a soldier, and in that I learned things which were very military focused, which were great if you're a soldier, but there are a number of things that you need to attend to, realizing that you are a civilian. The rules change, and that affects what you can carry at specific levels, because you need to have a certain amount of stuff available all the time. And obviously, outside of the survival situation, prior to it, there are laws that affect and all kinds of things in that regard. So you can't just go ahead and be wandering the streets with heavy-duty automatic assault rifles and massive axes and what have you. As much as they might be incredibly useful thereafter, it's not practical. So this is where the layering system becomes so important, and how you actually manage that level of understanding. So with that all said, there are 3 major levels to survival: your survival level, your emergency level, and your homesteading level. The survival level for a civilian should not last longer than half an hour. If it lasts longer than that, something's gone very badly wrong, or you've done something very badly wrong. Hope you got your coffee. So, for a civilian, we are redefining what survival is, by and large, in that it is that situation wherein if you do nothing, you are in imminent danger of death. So your only response to something like that is to get out. The moment you have got out of that immediate threat situation, because most civilians are not mentally trained to manage such things, you have to change your mind as much as you change your outlook and abilities. You're changing your mind in that it is no longer a survival thing where panic generally ensues simply because you're seeing it as a situation where you probably will not survive. So you've got to change your mindset once you've got out the immediate situation into that it's an emergency. And emergencies, we generally deal with them all the time. We know what they are. Usually they're small ones, but we know sort of on a bone level, if you will, that a survival situation is just get out, but an emergent situation you can deal with. And that makes a major morale difference for a civilian, a major mental change. And the mental aspect is very, very important. Once it's an emergency situation and you know you can deal with it, you can consider the possibility of taking charge of the situation, managing it. And that allows you to reduce the panic factor, which is so important. The emergency level lasts for your 72 hours, after which hopefully you can go back to normal living. But if you can't, if it's as in our scenario we are working on tonight, then of course what you have to do is look on it not in the case of a short period, but a long-term issue. And that's where the homesteading level comes in, and everything changes yet again. So at each break or level change in a situation like this, you go through the stop process. And stop literally means stop, think, orientate, plan. So you redirect what is most important, why it is most important, and how to manage it. So things that are important in one level are not the same in another. So one of the big discussions that came up was that in a survival situation, it's fully mobile and you're not looking for friends. You're getting out. That's all you're doing. Save your ass. Your emergency level, you might want to find other people, but only once you have established that other people are not a problem. If they're a danger, then it's exact opposite. Get away, get out. Thereafter, though, at the homesteading level, it's pretty clear that you're never going to be able to manage very long term on your own. You need a lot more skills than one person generally has, etc., etc. And then you will start using the greater time that you have in order to find allies. Now, time is the critical thing in any kind of situation, because at the survival level you have none. You will not be building shelters, you will not be cooking food, you will not be doing any time-consuming type things. You just don't have that time. You have more time on the emergency level. And with that said, you are therefore able to start at least looking around and making a bit more of a plan. The biggest amount of time you have will of course be on the homesteading level, when you are looking at now finding a permanent base, whether it's back where your home was or whatever, in order to start re-establishing life. And that's the difference. Now, obviously, the homesteading level only comes in if things have gone so massively south that you're talking at least a countrywide, if not a worldwide, disaster. So this is how the levels work. So survival is all about just you and your significant others. Your emergency level is basically the level at which you do all your assessments as to whether or not things will pass and we can go home, and you're looking for a place to tough it out for 3 days until things can be managed. Whereas your homesteading level will only kick in when you realize, all right, this is long term, there's no going back. And then you start taking over a new life, as it were. So that's how that works. The other thing that is of great importance in regards to your leveling or your understanding is that your gear itself will work in terms of levels. So there's certain gear that can improve your survivability by up to 65%, even if you're not trained. And that makes a massive difference. So that is the most primary and the most important gear. After that, you're starting to delve into the kind of level of gear and supplies that will last you for 72 hours. And then after that, you're looking at the kind of gear and things that you're not going to carry with you in a survival situation, but you will absolutely need in a homesteading situation. So you've got multiple levels to consider, and it will involve a certain degree of foraging as you go along, but it will also involve a certain degree of planting food, planting medicines, getting skills together, getting people together, and all of the things in those kind of ways. So we are heading into the idea of the Walking Dead style zombie apocalypse, where, okay, you've gotten out of the immediate situation of maybe they're trying very hard to break in through your front door, and you need to get away to a safe spot where you can at least breathe and figure out what's going on. So that will have your primary level kit. Your primary level kit is the kind of thing that is literally an EDC, everyday carry, something you will have with you or within reach all the time. And I went and did all my research on those civilizations or communities that do this as a ordinary part of living. So the Khoisan, and then many of the early cultures, the Eskimo, the early Native Americans, the early Zulu, the early Anglo-Saxons. Thank you so much to C2 for those likes. I do appreciate that greatly. But we're talking in terms of things people actually used on a daily basis to manage a hostile world. Now, in terms of that, you have your primary three, your personal, and your immediate geographic. Now, obviously, your personal and your immediate geographic will change very, very greatly dependent on who you are and where you are. Your primary three are the three tools that no matter what, every single early community type would carry. Every single one, no matter where in the world, no matter when it was. And it's as true today. And that is a blade, a flame, and a cord. Now, why do I refer to them like that? Mickey, how are you doing? Are you in fine and fabulous form? And she's frozen. I think there's a small amount of internet non-conductivity going on. Hopefully that fixes itself. But she is very, very welcome, as always. So I hope you can hear me at least. So the reason I say a blade, a flame, and a cord is that the different cultures very often did have a different choice as to exactly what they carried. So we have that going for us in that regard. But the items nevertheless fulfilled the same need, shall we say. So while, for example, the Eskimos chose to use the ulu, which was that very interesting curved blade, which suited their environment and what they needed and what they did, you will find that the San have a small fixed blade. The American Indians had a number of other things as well. There's all differences in the style that suited different people. And of course, in the modern day, we can choose a huge number of different things, dependent what, in order to suit our own environment and to use what is a modern equivalent, a better modern equivalent, as it should be. I mean, there's no point in being modern. Hey. Hello, you made it in. How are you doing?
Okay, thanks to yourself.
Very, very good. So we missed you in last night. So we're doing... No, it's all good. We're doing survival. What would matter and the levels of, and why military survival is great for military, but it's not working for a civilian, and the different levels that you need to approach as a civilian, if that makes sense. And our base scenario that we will apply all of the thinking to is, what if the zombies rose in terms of the Walking Dead type, not the World War Z type. So they're generally slower, but they're fairly virulent. But still, it would be a serious issue. So at the very basic level, you've got your primal kit: blade, flame, cord. Now, in the modern day, I, of course, personally like a folding knife. Now, the reason that we choose a folder over everything else is, for most of us in most places around the world, they're legal, which means you can carry it because you've got to have it on you before you're in the survival situation where everything's gone to hell. Because in that initial situation, you will have no time. And because you have no time, there's no running off to go and collect things initially. During the emergency level, yes, but first you've got to get over that initial problem. So your kit must be legal, socially acceptable, really light and easy to carry. Because that's life.
Yeah.
So with that said, the blade, a small folder. Yes, everybody's going to tell you, oh, but you have to have a proper fixed blade. Most places it's not legal to carry or not socially acceptable to carry.
Yeah.
Not all the time. If you're out in the bush doing bushcraft stuff, that's different. But you don't have it always. And let's face it, would you agree that 95% of your life, even if you're into the outdoors, is actually spent doing normal living things?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
True.
you're not going to be carrying your full camp gear all the time. It's not logical.
No, not really.
No.
It's
So,
good to have something like that in your car though. But yeah.
yeah, well, that would be your
Just in
backup
case.
that you would go to. But your primary gear has to be on you.
Yeah.
So if you're caught, say you work in an office on the 20th floor of a high-rise, you've got to get out of the high-rise if it's on fire. That's your primary. Your car isn't in your office with you.
Yeah, that's true.
So you would have to get to it to get that extra gear. So in terms of your primary is what's on you. So a folding knife of some variety would be my choice. That's legal and socially acceptable in most places. And it affords you a cutting tool which generally is the most important thing of getting out. If you like the Swiss Army or the Leatherman or whatever, fine. You know, you make the choice that suits you and your skills. Your flame. Well, in the old days, you would either use a bow drill or a flint and steel, similar things like that. Just checking
Sorry, I'm just
who.
looking for something quick.
All good. Braden is asking to join, but he is not yet known. Shall we let him on? Shall we be good to Braden? Let's give the man a chance and be good to Braden. He is said to be a good person, so we shall try the man out. Braden, how are you doing?
Oh,
Are you in fine form, sir?
yes, I'm in fine form.
I'm glad to hear it. So we're discussing the levels of survival and how it works. And
Yes.
I don't know how much you may or may not know about survival.
It depends which type of survival we are talking about.
Well, I really like the fact you say which type, because that's really one of the critical points of survival. So we're talking civilian.
Civilian
the-
survival, okay.
Okay. So on the most primary, there we go. There's an excellent choice. Yes.
My daddy gave it to me for my 21st birthday. I
Now-
don't know.
Nice, mine broke.
Ah, you see, there's a good one.
Yeah, I keep it here by my computer desk.
Now you see, it should be in
case
your
of-
pocket.
Yeah, true.
There is the key thing.
Yeah, I keep brass knuckles on my
Hello,
pocket.
hello.
Hello, Yatlio. How are you?
Yes. Good and you?
I'm very good, thank you. So, apparently Julius thinks that we need to seek the Lord. I don't think so, not on this channel. But thank you very much for the offer. Nevertheless, so your blade, flame, and cord, a small, legal, socially acceptable folding blade that you can absolutely carry at all times. That would be the critical point, because you never know when a situation will happen. It's not something that you decide, well, this weekend we'll have a survival situation. It happens at the least possible, the least convenient time.
Ah, yes, I see.
So while there's a great many things that at a higher level of survival might be really, really useful, you can't carry around a full tent, sleeping bag, entrenching tool and everything with you all the time. It's not logical, it's not practical. But you can carry the minimal basics that will get you out of the initial situation and therefore allow you to get to where you may have those items stored for the extended situation. So just because you guys weren't on when I said it, for a civilian, a survival situation, number one, must not last longer than half an hour. And this has to do with your mental capacity to manage the stress of survival. Okay?
Yes.
And because we instinctively feel on our basic human level that survival means if I do nothing, I'm going to die. So we make that our rule. Okay? Survival for a civilian is if you do nothing, then you will die. And there is only one response to survival, and that's get out. So you wake up
Very
at home.
true.
Yeah. You wake up at home, you're on the 10th floor of a block of flats, and you realize the building's on fire. The first thing you do is get out.
Yes, yes.
You don't stop
True.
and ask, but why is it on fire? Is there something else happening? No, first you get out. Then you stop and say, what emergency am I dealing with? Now the difference
Wait,
is...
but ask a question quickly.
Yes.
Would the first question not be like whether you should just cool on it to like put out the fire?
Well, it depends,
Or
because
like,
again, in a normal situation, now I've been in a building on fire. I did stay in a block of flats and it caught
so
fire.
you have like cool on the fire, yes.
And my first realization was it was in somebody's flat. The whole flat was going. It's seriously an issue. Now, I am not a fireman. I'm not equipped, trained, or legally allowed to manage.
I can tell.
So I need to be out of the way and not be at risk to make it more difficult for the emergency personnel. The
Yes,
only
yes.
thing I would do, I run downstairs, get out, and then phone, and 1023, and say, hey, we got a fire at this location, send help. And the people trained to deal with it will deal with it.
Yeah.
So my only other task is to make sure that me and my significant others, whoever they might be, are out. That's it. Get out.
Yes.
Having done that, then I look around and I literally did. What caused it? It was nobody outside. Everybody else was carrying on as normal. Clearly, it's not a greater threat. It's just an internal thing. Now it's no longer a survival situation because I will not die.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your
Could be a
first.
mentality.
Yes. Spooky's just joined, and as soon as he asks, he can jump on in. But the idea behind that is the realization that it's not your job, and if you start trying to make it your job, you will get in the way of those properly trained to handle it, who know what to do. Okay? But now,
Yeah.
the next question, if you will, is what if you get outside and you suddenly realize, hold on, this wasn't an internal thing. We've got people in the streets rioting and everything. There's obviously a greater problem. Okay, they started it. Now, at that point, you move to the emergency level, and the reason that you move to the emergency level, and this is why it's so critical, is that we instinctively know, because we've done it over and over again in normal things, in little ways, you deal with emergencies. Okay.
Okay, wait.
So,
Sorry. I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? You are yapping. Your keen voice coming for your air.
say that again. I didn't quite hear you. It was... Okay, well, there we go. Gone. He didn't like it. It's all good. Okay, so the idea is that if you're talking like special forces soldiers, they are mentally trained to manage situations. Okay, 90% of civilians are not. So we tend to panic in a survival situation, which is a problem. You want to change the situation into something that in your mind you can deal with, because
Yes.
that stops you panicking, because now you're back in control in that regard, if that makes sense. And therefore you're not panicking and running and getting yourself into worse trouble. You've calmed. So your initial gear and situation is the survival level. Half an hour, get out. Your flame literally is some form of fire starter. In the modern day, take a bit lighter. It's easier than trying to use a bow drill. I've tried it. And what you discover first are blisters. Let me tell you straight away. Even for somebody very skilled, it takes quite a while to get a fire going with a bow drill, whereas you can flick a bit anytime you like. So our modern equivalent is easy. And it matches in that regard. I see Endless Thoughts joined. Thank you for her joining. Welcome, welcome. So you've got that. Then the third item is cordage. Some kind of good,
Can I
strong...
please stop you here, right, real
Yes.
quick? Sorry. I'd like to say that you and the girl's voice is distracting me.
Distracting you. Why? Okay. Well, somebody else that just didn't want to.
What happened?
Braden says something was too shiny.
I didn't hear.
Something was distracting him, but it was too shiny. Okay. Sorry for that. I do apologize. Nevertheless. So you've got your three primary things. With those basic things, you can overcome most situations. Now, you might say in a fire that your cordage isn't very much useful, or neither is your big lighter. But dependent on what you're in, I've been caught out in a very, 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 very hard storm, and the windscreen wipers broke. The rubbers all came off, but we were like an hour from home. Now, you can't drive in that much rain without windscreen wipers. And literally using a bandana and my string, we made it good enough that we could get home. Now, you might say it's not serious, but it works. So emergencies can then be dealt with, and that's the point. Now, there are two other levels on your primary gear. Your personal and the geographic. Now, your personal is going to be two things, one of which you might not need. So the first thing is a pressure bandage. Basically, a pressure bandage is a sterile gauze pad already affixed on a bandage, and it's to stop serious bleed. Now, the obvious thing is the moment you can, you go to a medical professional. But in order not to Okay, cool. We're going to get you on now. There we go. In order to get yourself to said doctor without bleeding out, the pressure bandage will do it. It won't be fun, but it will do it. No other medical is necessary in that half-hour thing. So it's the bare bones in that regard. Spooky, we're catching everybody up because they weren't all here for the last one. Then we're going to continue from where we were. So you've missed nothing. Okay, so your pressure bandage gives you your immediate, so I don't die while I get out. Okay? And the other personal level thing, which you might not need, I'm diabetic. That means I need on me at least 2 or 3 days worth of my medication, because if I don't have it, I get into serious problems, obviously. Now, if you're not diabetic, you don't need it. I need
Okay,
it.
I'm gonna be keeping it real. You got a yapping, and kick won't be coming for ya.
Okay, well, strange, but I...
What did
Strange,
he
but
say?
whatever. I didn't get any of that. He was mumbling, but yeah, okay. As long as he's happy. Okay, so now that's your base level. Now the geographic part, which changes mostly, okay, will depend where in the world you are. So, for example, among the Eskimo, your geographic level is the clothing you wear, and they have massive amounts of clothing. But obviously, they live in... okay. If he feels that way, that's cool too. Thanks, Yatlil. In an Arctic environment, you need all of those levels of clothing. Now, where I did most of my survival stuff and training was in the desert. Shelter is virtually unneeded. You won't like it. It can get very cold, but you will survive. But water, on the other hand, is an entirely different story in the desert. You've got to have it, and it's not readily available. So your geographical level will depend on where you are in that regard. Now, that's your basic gear. The moment you move this now up to the emergency levels, you're talking 72 hours. So now you will need some kind of food, some kind of blanket, some kind of mat to sleep on, because you will be over a few days out. So that gives you your next level of gear, which goes on top of your base survival gear. You would probably do better with knife, fork, spoon, cup, something to cook with, that kind of thing. But you need to keep your food minimal preparation, because both the survival and emerging levels are both mobile. It's get out, get away, get to some safe spot where you can settle.
Yeah.
So you're not looking at long-term food. You're not looking at heavy amounts. You're looking at moving away from the danger area, and then you're looking at blocking people who are rude, because that's not very nice. Yes, I mean like that, and it's my channel and I can be. Now, we had gotten through that discussion yesterday in the last live with Spooky. So basically, you're getting out. You've realized, hell, the zombies have arisen. This is obviously an issue. You've moved to a place of relative safety, where you can at least find somewhere you can sleep without worrying about whatever the difficulties or attack is. And obviously it's going to depend on the kind of threat level. This is where your threat level decisions come in, whether it's environmental, military, such as war, or like zombies rising. Okay. So you work your threat level in accordance. Then you hit your homesteading level. Now, the thing about the homesteading level is, one, you need to stop being mobile. You can't keep running away forever. Okay, so you need to have a home base that is secure. And as we discussed in the last one, you can't do it alone. You need to have other people in order to restart civilization, for you at least, for your small group.
Yeah.
Now, what are the important things in that level of survival? Now, obviously, you're not going to do it with a penknife and a piece of string and a lighter. You're now at a level where you need serious tools, hopefully people with an ability to construct things, because you will need some kind of defensive system around to protect you. You will need to rebuild buildings, possibly, all of that kind of stuff. It would be great if you had mechanics and electricians who can set up, you know, whether it's solar, wind, or whatever form of power supply to pump water. And that brings you to your next level. You will need a local form of water that is drinkable, or a means to purify the local form of water. You will need a food source that is renewable. So initially vegetables and things planted, quite a few, and then some kind of livestock suitable to your skill level. There's no point in bringing in a herd of cows and nobody knows how to look after them. That will cause you even more problems. So obviously you need skill levels, you need understanding. So that means you need, if you haven't got the knowledge, you need to find a way to get the knowledge. So it means not raids on supermarket, but raids on libraries. A means to get. Because in an emergency of homesteading level type survival, you can almost guarantee that communications are gone. They will have gone down with the grid. Electricity will be gone. You're not getting off a national grid. Probably pretty quickly, water supply will be gone because there's nobody working the water supplies and the purification plants anymore.
Yeah.
Which means that after the emergency level, they're going to run out pretty fast. You've got to find an alternative, which means you need heavy tools that you won't normally carry. You will need a lot more supply of tools and materials. You will need to figure out how to grow your own medications, which means you need to know what plants give you what. Now, for example, I'm on metformin. There are certain plants that naturally produce a kind of metformin. If I could grow them, I now have a supply.
Yeah.
That matters. Now, in terms of this, the moment you've gotten past your emergency and survival levels, your homesteading is going to depend on your threat kind as to how it will work. So, as weird as it may sound, if it was a military threat, by and large, they don't care about civilians. And sooner or later, that very threat will stop. If you can avoid the soldiers coming through and the bombings and the what have yous, you're fine. It will stop. Whereas if you're talking something like the theoretical and rather fantastical zombie apocalypse, it's not going to stop. So you need a continuous protection, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, you're going to need a home base on the homesteading level. If it's a military one, you want it to be away from civilized centers, because they're the ones that are going to be gone to first by the army, and which are going to be the focus of attack. So the further out of civilization you are, the better you are, because you're not a threat. Okay. Whereas, and again, with the zombie idea, away from civilized centers where there are less people who can become infected and therefore be a threat to you. But you also need to think in terms of, will you need to hide, or does it not matter? If it's a zombie apocalypse, you don't need to hide. There's no need for hiding. But there is a need for a damn good fence.
Yeah, very well.
So your primary form of shelter isn't a roof, it's a fence. So basically, the moment you hit your homesteading level, you need to establish what the threat is and what is the most important protection from that threat, because that's your first line of defense. Without that, you're stuffed.
Yeah.
So the first thing you would do is get to a place where you've got really good fencing, something they can't get into, in order to keep you now at least safe. You can sleep at night without worrying. Then you move on. And once you've moved from that level, you start looking at the kind of shelter concomitant with the sort of environment you're in. Now, for, I would say, all but 1 month of the year, when I was in the desert, it was hot, hot, hot the whole time. The amount of shelter required was minimal. It only got really cold for 1 month of the year, and only wet 1 month of the year, which is another whole problem. But with that said, in our scenario in the desert, my entire focus will be a good fenced area. I wouldn't even worry about building a shelter until you got to that last bit of the year where it matters, and you can manage with the basics at least. Then you start building a house and all the rest of it. But your surrounding protection is the greatest important, and it's got to be big enough that not just for the house to live in, but for the garden, for all the things you grow, so you can freely go out and get the food you've grown. You also need to consider the kind of food, because a lot of what we eat in modern society is not practical. It's nice. We eat it because it's enjoyable and because we can nip down the shop and buy it. But it's not practical. Rice is hard to grow. You've got to know how to do it. You need a lot of land, and it's got to be wet. You have to. Now, it's not a practical survival food.
Potatoes would probably be a good one.
Exactly. So you need a lot of things that are easy, low energy to produce. So mealies is basically your primary.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. And we know they grow in South Africa really well. Pumpkins, cabbage, they're not the nicest vegetables, but
well throughout the year.
They do well throughout the year, and they're full of vitamins, iron, and everything.
I'm talking about potatoes. Potatoes grow throughout the year. They're easy to grow.
Yes.
If you just have soft enough soil.
Correct. Now, that would be your next starch type. You also want to look at local fruits and nuts that grow well in your area. Nuts especially, full of protein, full of vitamins, high energy. Fruit, of course, gives you energy from the fruit sugars and all of that kind of thing. So you're looking at well-sustainable foods that will get you through at least most of the year.
What you should try and get for yourself is some sort of gadget that can purify water for you.
Yes. Now, there are base ways of doing that. So one of the things that a lot of people don't know, if they're a civilian, you get 3 stages to clean water. So if you get just ordinary river water, it's pretty yuck. Okay, so the first stage is you need to desediment. Okay, so that means you take out the large particles. The second stage, which is normally done with the first stage, is you need to filter. But filtering alone is not enough, because you still have what they call cryptosporidium. So things like E. coli, all of the nasty little bugs that will make you really, really sick. Okay, so having filtered the water, then you need to purify. So desediment, filtrate, purify. Normally the easiest short-term method is you boil water. If you boil it to a rolling boil for 5 solid minutes, it will be purified. The problem with that level is 2 things. Number 1, it implies you have the necessary fuel to boil and a supply of said fuel to boil for a long period. Okay. The second problem, which would come up in case of especially a military thing, if they start using the dodgier forms of attack, heavy metals and contaminants in water, because that doesn't come out by purification. Then you need some kind of a specialized chemical treatment. You do get them. They're used in water purification plants, absolutely. Or, if possible, a decent source of borehole water which won't have those in unless you're ground zero, and if you are ground zero, well, it's probably too late anyway in that regard. So your water supply is critical. The ability to dig a well. Now, digging a well on your own, I can tell you right now, is virtually impossible because the walls keep falling in and you end up with this giant pit. Now, there's a way around it, and we'd used these in the mission. You build a concrete ring. It's about 6 feet across in diameter, and it's about 2 feet high. And you find where the well needs to go, and you put the ring down and you dig until eventually the ring sinks to ground level. Okay? What you then do is put another ring on top of it. And as you dig, the ring holds the ground up so you don't get collapse in. It was designed for places like northern Zululand where the ground is really, really sandy. So it's really friable. And if you dig, everything falls in. And you don't want to get stuck underground with that would really spoil your survival. So you literally use concrete rings. And they're reinforced with fencing wire. It works. And I myself have dug a couple of wells like that. It's hard work. It takes forever. And you do need quite a lot of concrete rings in some area where the groundwater is very low, but you can do it. And you can do it more or less on your own, with only a few people to help. Then,
what if nobody knows how to make a concrete ring?
You add water and sand and concrete together and put it in a ring.
Yeah, but I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't know where to go and find concrete.
Well, in such a case, then you would resort to the old Anglo-Saxon technique, which essentially is about the same. It's not as simple. It's a lot more hard work, but you take quite large flat rocks and you layer them around you in a circle, and you keep layering as you dig, and that forms your structure. And you reinforce it with wooden stakes as it goes. Now, it's not as efficient and it's not as good, and it still will sometimes fall in a bit if you're not careful, but it does work. Better if you can use dressed stone. But yes, it does work, and you layer it round and round and round and round and round. You spiral your way up as you dig deeper, and leaving little gaps in the stone that you can climb out again afterwards, because you don't want to get 200 feet down and say, "I've found water," and you can't get out. That would be bad. But you can do it. It absolutely does work. But the concrete rings work much better. So, and they generally make them, at least we did, using a wooden frame. So it's 2 wooden rings that you put together. You you stick the wire between the 2 rings, put in the concrete, which has got a plastic lining against the wood, which you peel off afterwards for the next ring. And once it hardens, you pull the wooden rings off, peel off the plastic, and you have a hard concrete ring. That's essentially how it works, and it does work, but it's slow. But it means you will get borehole water, which is critical for staying in place. Now, the other thing you were asking is, what about drying things? Well, here's the thing. You've got a couple of methods. The first is air drying. Now, air drying works in certain places better than others. Trying to do air drying at the coast is really hard because it's too damp. The air is too moisture rich. That makes it a problem. In areas like the Midlands, you want to do it middle of the highest dry period, because the moment the rains hit, it will mold out your stuff and ruin it. Of course, if you're in Uppington, you can do it all year round. It works like a bomb. So air drying can work. Better to do smoke drying. But smoke drying works well on meat. It works very badly on vegetation or fruit. So in that regard, if you're not with access to something like an indoor dryer that does it for you using cycle dry air, you're better to go with pickling, which will give you at least 6 months of storage, which means it will last over the winter until the next crop comes in. Pickling is pretty easy. You can either pickle sour or you can pickle sweet. If you pickle sour, you shove the stuff into vinegar. That's it. If you want to, and with certain things, you can pickle in brine. So heavily salted liquid. Or just salt. You just pack it in the salt. And it does work. If you pickle sweet, you're basically boiling up sugar into a syrup with just a little water to make like a kind of jam, and you put the stuff in that and it preserves it in sugar, basically, sugar preserving. Now, I can't do that because I will die, because diabetics can't have boiled sugar. So all of the jams and things would work in that regard. Salt preserving does work. Vinegar preserving does work. Getting more vinegar is kind of not that hard. You're basically taking some kind of fruit juice and souring it.
Yeah.
And
You won't get drunk.
only if it ferments. But you're well, it depends how much sugar is in the choice of juice. Usually we use grapes because you can sour it easier using salt and stuff rather than letting it ferment into wine. But if it did turn into wine, it would still preserve. Pickling in alcohol does work. So in terms of food, it will work. Yes, you will get a little drunk, but you let
It will
it
be
simmer.
fun. It
Yeah,
will make
yeah.
things
There
better
are worse
in the
things.
situation.
Yeah, there are worse things. So it is possible. So food, and as I say, meat, the best way is through smoking, whereby what you basically do is you make an oven, right? And then the chimney you make extra long. And what you do, you bend the chimney over, passing it through a bigger container with a door on it that seals fully, and then up. So all the smoke coming off the fire goes into that chamber and fills the chamber before coming out the top of the chimney. And
How long
you
does
say again?
your smoked meat be
Yes.
able for a few months, maybe?
And
No,
well,
a week?
it depends what meat on how much smoking is required. If you're going to use pork, for example, you need to hot smoke. So your smoke chamber needs to be nearer and above the fire so the heat comes up too. Okay. If you're talking
Hang it up
fish,
in the sun.
you can. There are a number of problems with that, not the least of which is flies. It's much better to smoke. If you put it in an enclosed meshed container in the sun, yes, it will work, and it will work very well, but it will not work as well on the coast because of the dampness of the air. You need a dry air. So smoking takes the moisture out the air. So cold smoking for fish, hot smoking for pork, cold or hot for beef. I have never known anyone actually do lamb. It's a bit too fatty. So you would do better with salt packing lamb for preservation because it's so fatty, because you don't want it to turn rancid. In general, the leaner the meat, the better it dries in that regard. So look, these are little things that aren't that hard to learn. It's doable by most people, even if they haven't had to do it before and are still sort of learning as they go along. So it's not the complex processes, it's the simple processes, and they work better. Preserving vegetation, you want to probably cold dry for preference, but you can oven dry. It does work. You want to oven dry without smoke so as not to over flavor it, because smoke works with meat, it doesn't work with fruit and vegetables. So you would have your drying box on top of the oven, not in the smoke. And you let it slowly, at a not hot temperature, but a warm temperature that dries the air, dry out like that. Tomatoes dry incredibly well, we know this. Most things like peaches and all of that dry very well. Oranges dry very well. Grapefruits dry very well.
What's the best way to dry them?
I personally would prefer an oven dry, because you can get the moisture out of the air, which means that you're retarding any possibility of molding. Molding is your big problem because you can spoil the entire lot.
We're going to need a lot of energy. You need a bunch of guys that's going to chop up wood all day long for you.
Well, if you're going to do the smoking thing, yes, because, well, in 2 or 3 days, you can do quite a large batch of meat if you've got a decent sized smoker. You can. You can do smaller batches with far less fuel in about the same time, and that you can do with smoldering wood shavings and stuff, which means you can use the byproducts of cutting wooden things.
When smoking,
Yeah.
because it's an odd word, smoking, right? Do you cook it using the smoke or the heat?
Dependent on the meat. If you cold smoke, like you do with fish, you would do it with the smoke. But when it's meat, especially pork, you hot smoke, which means that you're getting rid of things like trichinosis and all of that, and you actually do you cook it. It's when they talk about like cabanossi, we spoke of it the other day. That's actually cooked. It's hot smoked. So you initially raise the temperature right up. You're cooking the meat and then drying it as well in the smoke. So the initial heat is high, around up to...
It depends on where the smoke comes from, right? Because you don't want to just burn plastic or...
Yes. Now, that's the other side of smoking. You've got to have a non-toxic wood. So you can't just grab any wood to do smoking. It's got to be a safe wood. Pine does work. It's not terribly tasty. Any fruit tree's wood is great because you get that fruitiness as well. Oak works, elm works, birch works. But if you were to go and cut down a ton of bugweed, that would destroy. It would make your food really toxic. You can't use
Sounds
that.
disgusting.
It is.
Anyway.
Bugweed is awful. And it's actually an alien species. Did you know that? Yeah, it doesn't come from this country. I believe it comes from America. I'm not sure, though. Yeah. But that's why it's such a problem here, and it takes over, because there are no real threats to it, and it doesn't fit the natural ecosystem. So it just takes over. So it's a serious issue. So yes, you have to choose the right woods. Hardwoods are better because they smolder for much, much longer. And you want that slow smoking.
Okay. So I can't just burn a tire.
Sadly, no. It would certainly impart a lot of flavor, just not good flavor. And it would be poisonous. So, yeah, that's the other thing. And a lot of people forget about it. And I've known of stories where people got it wrong. They were in, like, we'll call it an Arctic condition, so serious cold outside. So they closed themselves up inside their shelter to keep warm and lit a good fire and burnt all the oxygen out and died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah.
So ventilation is always important. And whenever there is a smoker that I've seen, that all the farmers I knew that had them, they were always outside. Because they're burning all that time. They're also using up the oxygen. You don't want it in the house. Not at all. You absolutely need good free flow of air. And you
What
don't...
happens if I burn a bunch of cannabis plants?
You know, I don't actually know. Would it make your... Well, first of all, cannabis is non-toxic. Remember that. So it would count. You would go through a heck of a lot. I mean, really.
Yeah, because it's small and...
3 days. Well, I have actually once found an entire tree of it. And it was about that around at the base, which is pretty thick.
Oh, nice.
It disappeared because I saw it and I didn't really know, and I asked some of the I was out in the cane fields and I asked some of the cane workers, what is that? And they said, we don't know, but their eyes were like this. And
on
I
the
went
road.
off on my walk and I came back the same way. There was a hole in the ground. The tree was gone. They knew what it was. I was like, yeah, I was right. It was that. So, yes, somebody's home had a new plant. I think that they had a corporate decision that it was going home with them. But yeah, it does get big. It really does. So you could, and it is non-toxic. So maybe you could make some like really,
Yes.
really happy biltong. You planning this now?
Well, I think it would have a nice flavor.
Well, yeah, I reckon it would. But in terms of survival, it would certainly reduce your stress. And one of the biggest threats to survival, and the hardest thing that any civilian will face, given that we're not given mental training and all the rest of it, is the stress. That's what will kill you fastest. Loss of morale and giving up due to stress. And it's been proved over and over and over.
Not
So if,
just stress. Yeah, it also depends on the situation.
in terms
Because,
of,
well, I saw parts of a movie today,
okay,
which was a zombie movie. And they wanted the kid to kill the zombie, but he hesitated, probably because of empathy. He
yes,
doesn't just want to kill it.
fair point, fair point.
Yeah.
Well, again, this is where your threat level is most important, and your response to the threat level.
You have to have the right mindset, is where I was going to get to.
Well, yes, the mindset is critical. With the wrong mindset, you're done. But you also have to assess your people. So I know a lot of people that I will put money on it, that in any survival situation, they're going vegetarian. Because there is no way that they will be able to slaughter an animal. They just won't. There's zero chance. I can literally guarantee 1,000%. You know, they get X buying a burger that they have to cook type thing.
But
Amazing.
desperate times calls for desperate measures.
Some people just can't. And you're right, but some people just can't. Now,
Well, I'm going to go and do it. I'm starving.
well, look, I worked the missions for 9 years, and I remember the one day they walked and they said, we need to get meat for the school's dormitories for their food. So I was like, great, I'll come along with you. What do you need? And they're like, several knives for skinning and butchering, some rope, a means to catch a cow. I'm like, wait, what? And we rocked off, we bought a whole cow. And it wasn't a butchered cow. No, it was alive in an open field, no fence. It knew what was coming, and it wasn't going to run, it was going to fight. And we're like, okay, now what? And we had to catch it, tie it down, slaughter it ourselves, butcher it ourselves, the whole thing from scratch. And yeah, there was only 4 of us. It was a lot more involved than you might think. And when we got to that bit, now we've caught it, we've tied the legs, it's on the ground. They're like, right, which of you is going to end it? And we're like,
How did you do it?
knife to the back of the head. It was the only option. We had no gun or anything. And what you basically do, it's the most humane method. It severs the spinal cord immediately so that it feels nothing. First strike severs the spinal cord, second strike goes up into the brain, and then it's dead. And that's
Okay.
the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And it is the most humane. It feels nothing after the initial little bit.
Was any of you an expert? Any of you done it before?
Nope. First time ever. And
Shouldn't you
literally,
like drain the blood first or something?
in a good situation, yes. You don't absolutely have to. It's wise to in a desert environment because that's what turns the meat fastest. But it is very nutritious. So if you don't have to, don't. That said, a lot of religions demand that you do, in which case then you're going to also have to construct a stand of
What did
some
you say is
kind.
nutritious?
Blood.
Okay, but you can't drink raw blood.
No, you can cook it though. You can cook it into stews and things and make blood sausage, blood pudding. So basically, blood pudding, you take the blood, you mix it, I think it's 60-40 with oats, 60% oats, which absorb it, and you stick it into a casing like a sausage, along with spices and things if you like, and then you cook them like sausages or smoke them, hot smoke.
Yeah.
And
No,
yeah,
because you can't. Basically, we can't eat anything raw anymore.
no, that would be very difficult. But you
Fish
can,
is okay.
even, well, nowadays, even that's a bit dodgy. It depends where you get the fish. Open ocean, sure, 100%. But the moment you've got too many people around, the contaminants make it a problem.
Yeah.
So it would again depend. Fish is very good, and most people can manage to deal
But also,
with
where
the.
you find that fish, and it's better to just take that fish out first and put it into clean, purified water. Let it stay there for a while. Otherwise, it's going to taste like mud.
Yes, but we're talking at least a week. Now, if you've got alternative food in the meanwhile, definitely do it because that's very good. It cleans out a lot of things. Okay, but it implies A, you can keep the fish alive for a week, and B, that you can keep you alive for that week until you can eat the fish. On the other side of it, what makes it much better if you have a means to create a hydrated, clean water source, you keep the fish and breed them. Now you don't have to go looking for them. So absolutely, that would be fantastic if you can do it.
How would you catch a fish?
Given the choice, netting is the best. For a single person on my own, I would go with hook and line because I can and I know how to do it. I would consider spearfishing to be my second choice because it's much harder and you need quite a high level of skill to do it. But if you can, great. But netting is fantastic. And if you've got a seine net, you don't only get the...
I would use traps.
Traps work, but you have to get them out the traps.
Yeah, and then get the trap out.
So,
With
yes. If you've got a mobile trap, absolutely. Seine nets work really well, where what you do is instead of making a fish trap, you make a fish funnel with the seine net over the end. And the advantage of that is it won't only catch big fish, you can use them to catch smaller things like prawns and all of that as well. And they're very effective. Cast nets are a perfect example of a mobile seine net, and they work beautifully.
Have you watched the show Naked and Afraid?
Yes.
That is brilliant.
Some of them are really good, and you can see that they know what they're doing and they've thought about it. And some of them, you look at them and you're just like, dude, good luck.
Longer. The worst one I think was in Africa where they did one of the worst.
Oh, I saw that. And
That
the
was so
guys
bad.
were all wandering around like it's no problem. And the next day, the sunburn. In bits
Yeah.
of you that was never meant to be sunburned.
And
No.
then I couldn't walk because of the thorns. I had to make shoes.
Yeah. I was like, no, guys, you haven't thought this out at all.
So bad.
So, no, quite right. And that actually is an excellent show to watch in terms of survival because it shows the serious difficulties for civilians because you're not
Yeah.
dealing with dodging enemies and surviving from that kind of thing like the military would. You're dealing with day-to-day living. And it's actually a lot harder than you think.
Very hard.
I mean, I was talking to some friends of mine, and they're big hunters, and now they're professional. They've done it millions of times. They've got all the right equipment. They know what they're doing, and they were saying, "Yeah, I know. We went for 2 weeks up at such and such a place, and never got a thing." Now that's the reality of hunting. Even if you're really good, you can go 2 weeks and get nothing. Now, you need to have not only food for 2 weeks, but enough high energy for the hard work of hunting and may get nothing in return. Whereas, even if you're a bit old and tired like me, you can plant a cabbage and it doesn't run away when I go and fetch it.
Exactly.
So there are advantages to, you know, and that's exactly why I said the first thing I would do, because I'm not an expert farmer. For protein, I would get chickens. They take very little effort to keep them,
Yeah.
and they're not dangerous to you like a cow can very much be when you go and try and get one to eat it, and they breed quickly. So as long as I can... You
I
wanna?
wonder what would be better, chickens or rabbits? Because there was this one lady, she breeds rabbits for food. And she said it was
Yeah,
a bit
rabbits
cheaper.
taste like chicken.
Rabbits
They
have a
they do.
problem.
quickly.
Okay. Did you know that you can eat rabbits every day and starve to death?
I've heard about that. That's why I
Okay.
was wondering why she was talking to me, because she has a
Rabbits lack
rabbit farm.
a certain vitamin.
Is it?
Yes, and you need it to live. So if you only ate rabbit, you would die.
Is that why we don't see rabbits in the store?
No, because we eat a lot of other things as well. It's mostly because
In the store, but rabbits, they taste like chicken and they're easy to grow and they breed quickly.
they do. They don't taste like chicken. They taste like rabbit. Trust me on this. I've bred them. Yes, Endless
I've
Thoughts.
ate them.
It is active tonight and we like it. No, I used to breed rabbits for food, but you need a lot of other things as well. So as long as you're getting all your cabbages and pumpkins and tomatoes and all the rest of that, absolutely, rabbit's fine, because the other things provide the missing vitamin. I think it's vitamin E. Hey Shady, welcome back. So they don't have that. So if you only ate rabbit, you would still starve to death, even full, because your body needs vitamin E. It's critical. And in the winter in the Americas, a lot of fur traders, not knowing this, because they were trying to get lots of rabbits for furs, they ate the rabbits, nothing else, and they died. So you need to supplement. You've got to know your base income, what you need, your green leafy of some kind. Because again, sailors on ships got scurvy. It's because vitamin C isn't kept in the body. You have to keep putting it in. And it's what makes collagen. And collagen is the glue that stops your body falling apart.
I had to go and search it.
Yes. So if you don't get
my
vitamin
question
C,
was,
you fall
okay,
apart.
no, sorry.
Yeah, no, carry on.
No, I was just going to read what it says.
Go for it.
No, but you've already said most of it. It says, ask the question, if you only eat rabbit meat, can you still starve? And it said, yes, you can starve if you only eat rabbit meat, a condition known as rabbit starvation or protein poisoning.
Yes.
I wonder if the same goes for guinea pigs. 'Cause
I
they're also
don't
very
know.
good.
I do know in certain countries they are considered a delicacy.
Yeah. They also breed chickens, so I don't know.
They're
So
nice.
I've never tried one. I've eaten rabbit. I've eaten cane rat. I've eaten snake, varying kinds. I've eaten crocodile. I've eaten all of the buck of South Africa. I've eaten buffalo. I've eaten giraffe. I've not eaten rhino or elephant.
I'm sure you ate more pigs.
I've eaten, well, all the normal domestic animals. I've eaten warthog, bush pig, donkey. It's not very nice. But that was what was available when I was working out in the mission and on the table, and you went to the guest to someone, then there you go. Be polite. Eat it. It's good for you. I've eaten goat. Goat's not very nice. Snake's really nice. Crocodile's not. It tastes muddy. I've eaten eel. It tastes like crocodile. It's not nice. I don't like it at all. I've eaten flying ants.
Oh, yeah.
Flying ants are nice.
They smell like bacon if you cook them over. Like,
Yes. And they taste like a mix of butter and white pepper on popcorn.
Yeah.
Types of fish.
Oh, I grew up at the beach. I've eaten everything from shark to just about all the fish. Never dolphin and never will.
Barracuda is nice. I have a friend who does deep sea fishing. Gave me some barracuda steaks.
Barracuda's nice. I do like that. All sea fish are nice. Not all freshwater fish.
I'm in
Catfish.
love with tuna.
Tuna's good, but I find
You
like,
can eat it raw. It's
yes,
nice.
and salmon.
I don't like tuna so much. The fresh, just caught tuna has a very strange taste to me. I like it.
I like my tuna raw. I really enjoy it raw. If it's fresh, it is very, very nice. But then I prefer the light meat raw. The dark meat's nicer cooked.
The dark meat's nice to make Bolton.
Yes, but cooked it's much nicer. So absolutely, there's a lot of things like that you can. Octopus is great, crab is great, lobster's great. All of those are great. Sea lice, I can take it or leave it. Snails of any variety, take it or leave it. They're okay.
The turkey. I mean, we don't eat really much turkey in South Africa. But
In the Midlands, there are a couple of farms around, I believe, and you do get it here fairly often. It's nice. It's a bit like ostrich, more than it is like chicken, in my opinion. Argue with me if you want. I've always wanted a Kentucky ostrich. That's my ambition in life. I'll take a drumstick.
My brother-in-law, the one. Oh, sorry. My brother-in-law, the one year for Christmas, he did a turducken. The turkey stuffed with duck, stuffed with a chicken on the spit.
Okay. I find duck's a bit greasy. It's nice, but it's a bit over greasy. So it makes it, yeah, it makes a good roast if you let the fat drip out.
Yeah, the air fryer is really nice. Goes crisp.
Ah, yeah. I bet that would really work.
I've done it a few times. Amazing.
Cool. I wonder how we get a lot of ostrich steaks around where I am. There's a really good butcher locally, and they do a lot of ostrich and stuff. In fact, I had warthog tonight. It was really good. Warthog sausage.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, I
Much
love
better than
water.
ordinary pork. It's really tender. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, and they sell it just down the road from me at the butchery there. They got all kinds. The venison's great.
Is ostrich native to
Yes,
South Africa?
yes.
But what about Australia? I thought Australia have ostriches.
They have emus, which is related, I believe. So, fun fact: the emus got out of hand in Australia, so they called in the army to fight a war against them, and the army lost. Those emus are pretty nasty. It's like ostriches. I mean, if an ostrich kicks you, you're going to stay kicked.
Yeah, then
Those claws are no fun, and the emus are the same. They're not quite as big as an ostrich, but let's just say they're big enough.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but
they could give you a good serious kicking, like an ostrich. Now, to be fair, if it wasn't for the fact that ostriches are an absolute bugger to raise, they're really difficult, they would make a great survival food. Plenty of meat, and let's face it, one egg for breakfast and you're done for the day.
Yeah, you can
Give
feed
you
more
eggs
people.
daily?
I mean, have you ever tried to make an ostrich omelette?
Well, we need a
Like
big.
to.
I've done one once before in a Scottlebry. It was the only thing big enough.
They'll make a nice big omelette.
Oh, it does, and it's rich, hey? It's really rich. Yeah, it's not like anything you. I mean, well, that's something that you would, if you've lived on a farm, you'll know. If you compare a farm chicken egg to a bought chicken egg, I mean, the difference is day and night. Bought chickens are insipid. They're so pale and pathetic and tasteless. Farm chickens, they've got bones in them. They're serious. And ostrich is like that.
Yeah.
We've got a few chickens and ducks, yeah. We eat the eggs. The duck
Yes.
eggs are nice.
But the eggs are very healthy. But
Why?
can you drink the ostrich egg?
Can you drink it?
Mm.
What, like raw?
Yes.
I don't know, actually. I should think so.
Yeah.
You can eat virtually any bird's egg raw.
Mm.
Now I'm starting to wonder if lizard's egg can be eaten raw too. I doubt it. It's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would seriously doubt in that regard.
Well, birds evolved from them.
Yes, but they've evolved sufficiently to be different.
That's why birds lay eggs. Because they laid eggs.
What about platypuses?
We talked about this before.
I know, it stays in my head. But absolutely, there's a whole ton of... Lenore Jordan wants to join us. Let's give her a try. There is a whole ton of possible foods out there that grow well throughout the year if you know what they are. Hey, Lenora. Like one of my favorites on the coast. I don't know what it is in English. Have you ever heard of amatungulu?
No.
Okay, so it's like a bush, and a lot of people use them as a hedge. They got very dark green leaves, and they're very, very nice. But they've got huge thorns on. They're like really serious thorns. And weirdly enough, the fruit is red, and they've got like a milky sap, which normally, if it's milky sap, don't eat it, it's poisonous. These things are different. These you can. They're a bit sour, but they're really, really good for you. Full of vitamin C. They're great to eat. And we used to eat them at the coast all the time, but they're a hell to try and get because of the thorns. And the bush is really dense. So there's no like moving branches out the way.
I think I know what you're talking about.
But I don't know what they are in any language other than Zulu, because that was the only way we knew it. So yeah, amatungulu. If anybody knows what it is in English, give us a comment, because I don't know.
Well,
And
if you tell me how it's spelled, then maybe I can do a translation.
AMATHUNGULU. Dark greened bush, thorns, bright red fruit, milky sap.
Is it Natal bloom?
It is in Natal, yes. They have, I think it's white flowers.
Plum. It's a Natal plum. That's what it says. That's all
Okay.
it says. Yeah.
Okay, I have learned something today I did not know. We just call them amatungulu. And we would pick them along with guavas and susu. You know susu?
Is that what? Wait.
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yeah, that's it. That is absolutely it. They taste fantastic. I like sour fruit, and they are tops.
So it's called Natal plum.
In other words, they didn't know what it was, and they gave it that name because it looks a bit like a plum. Okay. It doesn't taste like a plum. It's not really sweet. It's more sour than anything, but really full of vitamin C, very good for you. What is a susu? Do you know?
A what?
So it's a kind of pumpkin, and it grows on a vine. You get them all over Natal. They're a pale yellow, and they're about that sort of size. It's called a susu. They're also good. And we would roast them and eat them with fish. They go very well with fish. But you can boil them up make like a mash like pumpkin, but they don't have much flavor. But they do have a lot of water in them. So if you're thirsty and can't get water, susu.
Seeds?
Yes, small seeds in the very middle.
Okay. So you can also just eat the seeds.
You can. They're not a problem for the eating. It's like a pumpkin, really. No problem.
Eat a pumpkin seed.
You can. It's not a big deal eating pumpkin seeds.
That's really good. This is nasty.
We used to eat them all the time.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah. But though best is you take them out and then you roast them in dry roast them in salt.
Yeah.
And yeah, very, very nice.
I just buy them in the shop in packets. The
That's
pumpkins.
easiest. Unfortunately, once the zombies have risen, you can't buy them in the shop.
Yeah, you don't have to make it yourself. Sure.
But yes, absolutely. And again, very, very full of vitamins, very good for you, great survival food. If you were to ask me, okay, for the first 2 levels of survival, what food would I carry? Druvos and cabanossi. Because not only is it protein, it's high fat, which means energy, and it makes you feel less hungry. And you can chuck in salts and things to replace what you're losing for the hard work, right? Dried fruit.
You would buy that and then keep it, store it.
Yes.
Or what
I for the initial type level before you're starting to build your own, I always would like to have on hand some of that. Also, it makes for a nice snack. So when you cycle out your survival food, you have an excuse.
That sounds pretty good too.
Dried fruit for the sugars. Absolutely. Dried nuts of any kind. Peanuts are incredibly good for you, especially for a diabetic. They can stop a diabetic drop in sugar level very quickly, but they don't give you a sugar high. So they're an incredibly safe food to give energy to a diabetic. So for me, peanuts will be fully in.
What
Okay.
about spam?
Spam is good. The problem with spam is it's a wet food and it's heavy.
Yeah.
So all of for me, I would carry only dried for the initial 2 levels. Spam's great and long lasting because it's tinned, and I would want it at the homesteading level because it's packed with all kinds of good things. So absolutely there. So dried meat, dried fruit. I would add in some dried vegetables in 2 forms. You get dried tomato pieces just to eat as is because they're full of vitamins. And then freeze-dried vegetables where you add boiling water and they reconstitute, which mixed in with soup powder makes an incredibly good meal that's very, very light. And I can have it in portion sizes so I can carefully manage my intake of food. It makes for brilliant, brilliant survival food. So soups, because I mean, literally, you've got this tiny little amount that when it's freeze dried, but it makes a full pot of food, and it rehydrates you, and it's got salts and everything to give back what you're losing through exercise and stress. Very, very useful as food. Granola type bars, absolutely, packed with your fibers, because one of the problems is with a combination of stress and unfamiliar foods, you will get the runs, and that dehydrates you, and that can kill you. So good fiber intake stops that. So your granolas and things, and they're light. That as well. As dried food, brilliant. And you can get powdered milk that just add water and it reconstitutes into milk, and it's real milk. It's good.
Have you tried the powdered eggs before?
They are technically good. They taste like shite.
I hear so. I've never tried it, but I hear they're really tasty.
They used to give us that when I was in the military, and we used to put it on the plastic spoons and flick it at each other because it really tastes horrible, and we'd rather use it for amusement. It was horrible. Like, no. Powdered eggs do not work for me. I don't care what anyone says. But we had them all the time in the military. Digestive biscuits. Filling.
Yeah.
The one problem
Very
is,
nice.
even if you have enough food that your body needs, you will be hungry. And digestive biscuits are filling.
What about roots?
That I would keep an eye out for, depending and understanding that you know what you're getting. Certain forms are great. They're very good for you. Some of them are dangerous. Like amadumbe is very good for you, but you have to cook it, because if you don't cook it, there's a toxin in it that the cooking destroys. So they will make you sick.
I had an incident with a madumbi. So anyway, I have a friend and she's traditional food to the family. Anyway, I was there the one day and her dad was sick and I was gonna make soup for them. And she just said she didn't have potatoes, she just had madumbis. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm thinking, oh, it's like a potato.
And they're
I
purple.
can make my soup. Yeah. But anyway, I've got this habit of when I'm chopping vegetables to make anything, I'll like nibble on raw vegetables. I do it all the time.
Oh dear. Right
There's
there.
madumbi.
Yeah.
And then we're busy talking. It's like, And as I'm putting it in my mouth, she's like, "Oh, those are toxic, by the way. Eat them raw." And I just put it in my mouth, and I'm like, it just drops out of my mouth. And immediately I could feel my mouth start tingling, becoming
Yes.
numbish. It was
Yeah.
crazy. And
If you had eaten it, you would have got serious runs and vomiting.
yeah, because it was so weird. And we were joking today still about, the day I almost died cooking soup for Dad.
Absolutely. But if you boil them up properly,
Yeah.
they're very filling and very good for you, and they're big. I mean, when you find them wild, they're sizable.
Yeah.
So plenty of.
Yeah, no, it made a good soup.
Yeah, it does. And they taste all right. Nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, really.
Are
They're
they
good.
easy to grow?
Very.
Through the
They
wall?
grow wild in the rivers around Natal.
Yeah.
So it's
So-
a food source that you can look for.
Yes, very much so. And they're easy to recognize. I know of no other particular root that's bright lilac purple. So if you see it, that's it.
Roots are easy
The
to
ones
grow.
I see in the shop are usually just brownish.
The outside is brownish, the inside's purple.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, fully, very, very good. And it works, and it's filling, and that's the important thing. You feel full.
Turnips?
Turnips do not grow so well in this country, except in certain parts. In the
I've grown
Midlands,
them before. They grow very fast. Within a month, you can start eating them.
you can. I'm not over fond of turnips, but they work. It's like, what's that other one? The yellow one? Looks like a yellow carrot.
A sweet potato? No.
No. It's gone out my head. It's another one that like a carrot, but I don't like the taste of them. But they grow very fast. It'll come back to me. Looks somewhere between a turnip and a carrot. But carrots as well, very good for you. Grow well, and they
Maybe
get pretty.
ginger.
Ginger in moderation. Too much will give you fever. But it makes for a very good medicine. So I would certainly grow it if I could.
Okay.
Sage,
What about
basil,
garlic?
rosemary, thyme.
Garlic is a root, am I right?
No, it's a bulb, like onion. So it's not fully underground, it's sort of baseline. Part underground, part not. But yes, garlic, onion of any kind, and they've got medicinal uses as well as edible uses.
Are you
So
talking about a radish, maybe? No?
I've never actually personally grown radishes.
I like radishes.
No, it looks exactly the same shape and size as a carrot, but it's pale yellow. And they've got an insipid taste. Starts with a P. And it's a root just like a carrot. I forget them, but they taste horrible anyway, so I've probably blocked it out reflectively. But yes, there are a lot of things like that, and the advantages of those plants is the medicinal side as well, which in a serious situation would matter. You know the old myth of garlic being protection from vampires? Well, part of the reason is that it is a mild antibiotic and it's a blood purification. It cleans the blood of infection. So regularly eating garlic strengthens your blood, quite literally. So yeah, that's why it's very, very, very good for you, because your blood is one of the biggest parts of your immune system.
Mm.
Your ability to fight off disease, sickness, toxins in the body, everything is largely through the blood. So a good, strong blood means good, healthy you. You don't get sick in the first place. So it absolutely matters. So all of those you want. And there are a number of other things, like while not everybody likes it, but rooibos is not just nice tea. It's got a lot of good medicinal uses. What's that other stuff? Buchu. Yeah, that stuff. If you can grow that, it is the South African equivalent of 4 of the 9 primary healing herbs. It's antiseptic, antibiotic, cleansing, strengthens the immune system, cleanses the body, helps your body relax, helps you sleep, and is a mild pain reliever. All in one. So as a local herb that you want, that's right up there at number 1.
Celery roots, they don't really grow here.
I don't know, I've never tried to grow celery. Spinach, on the other hand, full of iron, very, very good and grows fast.
I've
And
grown spinach before.
if you harvest it correctly, it just keeps growing, and you keep harvesting, and it keeps growing and keeps going. Same plants.
I just ripped it off and ate it raw.
No. What you want to do is cut the outside leaves away and leave the new ones in the middle, and then you get a whole new plant in like a week. And you cut all the outsides off, and it does it again and again and again and again and again. And it does it practically through the year. I mean, as a backup food, full of iron and vitamins, 100%.
Yeah, spinach is nice.
And of course, if you take something like mealie meal, which is really filling, mealie meal is not massively good for you. It's not bad for you, but in terms of...
Maybe it's hard to make. It takes a long time to make. It lasts a long time.
But that's the thing. It lasts for ages, and it's very, very filling. So if you take a small amount of things that taste good and mix it into your mealie meal, you'll be well sorted from the other additions in terms of vitamins and minerals, but you will feel full and satisfied. That's why it's such a national...
Growing is a hassle. And you have to rotate your crops. You have to grow in bulk.
But it does grow well here.
Yeah.
So it does work. And that matters, really. And you can process it quite easily with simple tools. And it dries easily here. You hang it up inside, it'll air dry, no problem. It'll go hard. You bang it on a big stamper and you're done.
It takes months to grow. And you can't grow like that again for the next 2 years.
True, but it works very well as part of a crop rotation system. So you divide your field into 4, and you mealies in the one, something else, vegetables in the next, something else in the third, and you leave the 4th quarter empty and let the chickens scratch there for worms. And then you rotate round and you rotate round and you rotate round. The soil has chance to recover. And yes, you plow everything.
Very damaging to the soil.
Yes, but it has huge value in survival. And that's what counts. So there's a lot to be said in terms of your different foods. If I had to choose fruit in this environment, avocados up at the top, tomatoes, probably if I could, kumquats. They grow really well, actually. And
I love it.
yeah, and the citrus, the vitamin C and everything is very high. So they're easier to grow than oranges and naartjies.
Yeah.
You sort of plant them and leave them, water them occasionally.
Just eat a lot of it.
Yes, and you get a lot off it. The trees generally produce a lot. So for citrus, that, and they dry well. Any kind of nut, macadamias and pecans are probably the primary choice. They're the easiest to grow. They've got no issues, and yeah, you can chow down heavy on those. They're good for you. And peanuts. Though peanuts are hard where I am. The soil is too damp. You need very sandy soil.
Okay.
Yeah. On the coast, the north coast, they grow like a bomb. They're a staple food there. And they're that good for you, so
Yeah.
fully.
So nice. But you also have to cook it to eat it.
What, peanuts? No.
Potatoes.
Oh,
Potatoes are nice. They grow quickly. They grow throughout the year.
You
But the
actually
soil,
don't have to cook them. You can eat them raw. I don't like the taste at all, but I knew a guy that used to eat them raw all the time, like you would eat an apple.
I like raw sweet potatoes. That's nice. Yeah.
There we go. And sweet potato apparently grows easier, and it does the same. So, potato, yeah. And everyone loves mashed potato.
no, we actually potatoes. I mean, you make French fries with it.
And if you can actually dry and powder it, and then reconstitute it when needed. You seal it in an airtight bag. You want one of these.
Well, if I'm traveling, maybe. Otherwise, I'll just stick it into the ground.
Well, yes, but if you're as camp food, it's very filling, very light, and it goes well with everything. So yeah, dried potatoes works. Absolutely. And I like chippies. But yes, so dealing with that level, you would need to start creating lists of what to grow when, for food and for medicine. And don't forget, not just food for yourselves, but any animals you've got. Certain plants, if you grow them, they attract a lot of bugs and things and worms. And you grow that in your chicken coop. And there's 50% of the feed for your chickens dealt with.
Yeah.
And it's good for them. It's healthier for the chicken, which means that they're fatter and tastier when it
I
comes
actually
to...
want to get a bunch of chickens because somebody told me I can just feed them my scrap food.
You can, it don't work so well.
They would eat rice and spaghetti and
They do,
all sorts of things.
they do.
I really like cockroaches.
Well, what we used to do is we had a biggish garden that was fenced and we just let them run around the garden.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, they just eat whatever.
And I would say about 80% of their food they sorted for themselves.
Yeah.
So there was a limit to how much we
It's
needed.
every day.
Yeah, it was a limit to how much you needed to feed them. Made it
You give them
easy.
mealies, crushed
Yes.
mealies, but they eat sprouted food.
Yeah.
I sometimes cook rice and I throw rice out.
I want to get chickens because I heard it's extremely easy to take care of them.
They are. They
Yeah.
take care of themselves mostly. You want
And I can have eggs daily.
Well, do be careful though, because you get two kinds of chickens. You get egg-laying ones and you get meat-eating ones. And
Yeah.
by which
No, I
I
like
mean
the
when
egg-laying
you
ones.
eat them.
Yeah, we
I don't
have
know
big
how-
ones and they lay two
These
eggs
chicks.
each day.
Yeah, you get a couple of egg-laying bantams and you want a nice little hut that you keep the floor of it well cleaned with dry straw.
Yeah.
And yeah, they do their own thing and they carry on regardless. They smell a bit.
They're
Just
quite
keep them out
destructive.
of the
If you're
rain.
growing other plants, they tend to eat
They
plants.
can be.
They dig holes. Lots
Yeah,
of
they
holes.
do. They do. But they do give you eggies. And eggies are actually an incredibly good food, full of vitamins and everything and protein. So if you get good eggs from farm raised chickens, it's very, very good for you.
And the eggs are lovely. Very nice.
Yeah. So you see, that's the other thing as well. It's not just having enough food, it's having enough food that has the right vitamins and minerals in it to give you what you need, which is hard. If you know the right stuff, you can do it very easily. And eggs are a great source of protein for that, and renewable by and large. So as a homesteading, see, if I raise a cow for meat, once I've eaten it, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's it.
Chicken is
You raise chickens for eggs, and the eggs keep coming, and the chicken's still there, and you're
I once
having
had,
that protein. Yeah.
I once had a chicken who was 7 years old when she died. She lived a very long life. She lived
Yes.
quite long.
And they do. They do live long. And once they do have chicks, they raise them for you by and large.
Yeah,
As long-
exactly.
yeah, you give them the right environment to sleep in, and they manage themselves.
Yeah.
So yes,
Cool.
absolutely good.
Well, I've
Your
never
your
had chickens before, but I'll start with egg-laying chickens.
it's the wisest.
Yeah.
I can tell you as well that in a homesteading situation, dependent on how hard the initial disaster was, there are a number of things that will become in very short supply. Things like blankets, clothing, all of that will become in very short supply. You need ways to get more material, whether it's raising sheep and shearing them and carding it and weaving it, and then you've got to know how to, and all the rest and all the rest, and someone's got to know how to tailor it into clothing and. Though I suppose if 99% of the population was gone zombie, you go to the houses and shop.
Yeah, I'll do, but
So there would be options, dependent on what disaster you're facing. Your biggest and most important issue, I think, would be establishing how long the zombies will remain active. Because assumedly, eventually, they're going to fall apart
yeah, it's not getting food.
and sort of die. Whereupon eventually the plague of zombies will end. It may take 100 years, but it will. Whereafter you can then start going out and doing all kinds of things, more or less safely.
Yeah.
Now, the same could be applied to, say, a nuclear event. Eventually, most places, it will be safe to leave and go out. It may take 10 years, but most places it will be okay. There will be some that will take a lot longer, where, like, ground zero of an atomic strike, but nobody is going to be surviving in that area because, well, ground zero of an atomic strike is tickets for anyone in the area.
And you're not going to go there because there's nothing there for you.
No, exactly. Though, an interesting fact, now, you know about the Chernobyl meltdown.
Yeah.
Okay, so right next to Chernobyl, which was the name of the power plant, was the town of Pripyat. Now, what they started doing ever since the Chernobyl meltdown was basically what happened, the army went in and said to everybody in Pripyat, leave right now. Do not return. Okay, so people literally left food on tables, everything as is. If you couldn't pick it up in one hand, it wasn't taken, and they left. So you've got a human environment with no humans in it at all. That's a ground zero nuclear event environment. So scientists have been studying it to see how it's gone, you know. And the weird thing is, contrary to what you might think, there's been very little damage to nature. And in fact, wolves have returned to the area. There's tons of fish in the river, which there wasn't before. All the plants are growing well. There are a few minor mutations, but nothing really serious. There are one or two places where you just can't go because the radiation level is still too high. But for the most part, nature's doing great. So it's thriving, despite being what is essentially a fallout zone.
So it's amazing.
Yeah, so it's very, very interesting. In fact, if you go and look it up and see how things are going, you'll be quite amazed. And apparently, for some reason, all of the cats in the area went feral, and
Oh.
they are thriving. There's
Living the best life.
Yes. And it's really, really strange. It's like nothing scientists expected. So there you go. Maybe there's more truth to fallout than you might think.
Humans would go feral.
But, well, when I say went feral, I mean they just stopped living with people and went and lived in the bush, and they were quite happy about it. So we would essentially do the same thing. We would go feral because we're not in society anymore. But theoretically, we could survive.
Not for a long time.
Well, we're finding that might not be entirely the case. It depends.
What about your offspring?
Again, maybe a little changed, but we might survive better than you think. We're not sure. That's why Pripyat is such an important place to study. So yeah, it's very weird. I don't know the real answers, but yeah, it's very, very interesting in that regard. Absolutely fascinating. Goodness gracious me, Endless Thoughts has sent us 7 gifties. Huge thank you. Huge thank you. That's really awesome. Life goal achieved. Thank you. So yeah, it's a very strange environment in terms of survival when you're reaching the homesteading level, and it totally does depend. So if you're a war zone thing, you might find that having less weaponry is better because you're not deemed a threat to whoever is coming in, and they'd probably leave you alone. Whereas if you're all armed up and tactical, they might think, oh really, you must be a military thing, and then bomb you. Too many.
Defend yourself.
Well, enough, but not obvious.
You'll get people that would come and attack you because you have no weapons.
Again, enough, but not obvious. And away from where most people are, because you're less likely to be a target if there are less people around. So rural is better in a military situation. But that's not the case in necessarily other situations. So say it's a natural disaster. Let's assume that we had a Noah's Ark type flood. Obviously, you've got to get to high ground. Having other people around would be very useful because your problem isn't threat from attack or anything. It's dealing with the weather and not drowning. Now, in South Africa, we've actually already won. Because...
Yesterday, we ended with me talking about migration
Yes.
as a survival method. Because if I had to look throughout history, it seemed like the people that survived were the people that were migrating a lot,
Well,
going from one place to another place. If they settled, sometimes they settled and they lived there for quite a while, maybe even for hundreds of years. They built pyramids, but they died out.
well, here's my thing as well.
They died out.
Where would matter, and what level of threat were they facing? Because by and large, while certain people have stopped being a major society necessarily, they haven't gone. They're still there and they're still okay. They are no longer the top of their level. The other side of it is natural disasters took out a lot of civilizations. And if you're talking a flood type thing, in South Africa, if both polar caps melt fully, we will still mostly be above water. We're fine. Whereas if you live in the Netherlands, yeah, you're kind of out of luck there. They're already below sea level for a lot of the country. So if the sea level rises by 3 meters, they're done. So is Britain.
China would be fine.
Parts
China
of.
thrive.
Um,
China has mountains, lots and lots of mountains.
The mountainous parts, yes, but the Yangtze River Basin, for example, and the Yellow River Basin has flooded in the past, and it's devastating. And those are quite big river basins. Japan would be gone. Large portions of Russia are fine. South America's fine. North America, not so much. The Appalachian Mountains and the Ozarks, yes. But California's gone.
Yeah.
Louisiana
Yeah,
is finished.
Parts of North America, and there's a lot of things. I mean, New York would be gone.
Oh, yes, without a doubt. Most of Florida, Louisiana, all of that, because they're very low level and they're swampy. So they'd be
Basically,
done.
everything at the coast of America would be underwater.
Even towards some of the middle parts, believe it or not, it's actually quite interesting. The Great Lakes areas, doomed. They just, yeah.
People like to build cities on coasts.
Well, yeah.
Because it's easy to trade.
And good food. Easy to get. So yeah, that is a problem. Whereas most of Africa is on a very high elevation. I mean, you know, if you drive from Durban up, you're literally going up. So even most of our coastline would be fine, which is cool if it's a flood.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, dependent on what you're facing, where you're going and how, will be different.
What do you think was the end of ancient civilizations?
Internal. There's 2 books that you especially would get a kick out of. They're both by Jared Diamond. The first book is called Guns, Germs and Steel. And it's how civilizations reach their peak. And the second book is called Collapse. And it's how the same civilizations who literally ruled the world, at least the known world, then collapsed. And in every case, it was an internal issue. So we destroy ourselves, ultimately. That's the problem. And you're seeing it in several of the modern greats at the moment. It's true.
Yeah. It was probably because of, like what you said, diseases and raiding.
It's mostly psychological. So, like, the Roman Empire collapsed because they became too powerful and too indolent. It was all about pleasure and getting what they wanted, and the gladiatorial things in the
Okay.
Colosseum.
No, I
And
get what you're saying. So they've got a saying, it's weak weak men create hard times, and hard times create hard people, and hard people create good times, and good times create soft people.
yes, 100%, absolutely. That is so totally accurate, and that is the problem. Now, without saying any names, what countries can you think of that it's my right to do this and that?
And those countries are going to fall.
They are falling.
Yeah.
They are in the process. It may take 100 years, but they're falling. It is what it is.
Currently, most of the world are soft people now.
100%. So, yeah. But take note, Jared Diamond. He's a sort of social commentary type person. But he's a professor and he's very, very good. And he's well worth reading. So, yeah, 100%. And it's all true. And he proves it through different civilizations that have risen and fallen. And we see it. My coffee is
No
done.
birthright?
It's bad. Again?
No birthright. And then, like, not even so long ago, like, if you go back to 300 years back in the past, like 1 out of 6 kids survived.
Yes.
They would
We forget.
get a common cold and just die.
We forget how lucky we actually are in modern society. People had big families of up to 10 kids because chances were only 2 of them made it. That's the reality,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, before we had things like vaccinations and stuff, smallpox was terrifying. Tuberculosis, terrifying.
And when a child gets sick, it's still learning its body is still learning how to defend itself.
100%.
And it gets really ill and then just dies.
Well, imagine, if you will, if what we nowadays sort of speak of and look down on as third world countries with terrible health systems, the whole world was that 400 years ago. That was the level of the whole world. So where you go, oh, but in that country, it's such a third world country, 90% of the people don't live past 35. Yeah, that was the whole world.
But people were strange that they told them out of school. And then they would go and sit in the river and then drink from the river.
100%. I mean, at my age, I would be considered 1,000 years ago to be beyond ancient.
Yeah.
I've lived twice the span of a normal person's life. And I'm only just over 50.
Yeah.
So that's the reality. So once you hit 30, you were
You're
a
still
crone.
young for today's age, but
No, you. But in the
a few
old
hundred
days, you were
years ago,
ancient.
yeah.
The average warrior lived to 20.
But kids at that time were also a lot tougher, bigger, stronger.
Well,
They were
yes,
which
To
is
a-
like today.
that as well. But it's upbringing. I mean, you weren't kept nice and safe and fed so well until you finally leave school at 17. By 17, you should have had a family of 5 and been working for 10 years in the fields.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And I think if ever a real survival situation occurred that was long-term and global, most people wouldn't make it simply because they are not physically strong enough. That it really would be that. It would be that hard. But it is what it is. But guys, we have actually gone 20 minutes over our normal. So, question. Are we going to go with Mickey's suggestion for the next live, which was mutants? Or do we need to carry on some more with survival? Do you want to talk more with that? You guys let me know. And let's see what we can do. You can message me on TikTok through the week. Let me know what you think. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Do all of those important things. And remember, there's all sorts of stuff that we think we know. But when you really get down to it in real life, you might find you're wrong. And we've found that with so many things. So yeah, survival's a lot harder than you think.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, and we will be back tomorrow, of course, 10 o'clock standard time. What do you think, Spooky? Any particular things you want to carry on with, or do you want to do
Well,
something
let's
new?
do both. How about forced mutation for survival?
All right, I can go. And what have scientists done to lead up to it? You got a deal. That'll be the next one. Okay. And is Fallout a reasonably intelligent game? Are they accurate? We shall see.
Alright, thanks so much.
Awesome. Have a fantastic evening, all of you. It's been great having you on. Thanks to everybody that stuck around and watched it all. It's been great. Comment more in future. All of you. I see you sitting there. And we like having you here, but we want more comments. But with that said, have a wonderful, wonderful. Elvito, thank you for the likes that you gave. Spooky, Ender Thoughts, Mickey, thank you so much. And to all the others that added likes, it's been a great evening tonight. And you guys have been wonderful. Thank you for listening to me and to all the joinings in. Until the next one, have a good one.
Bye.
Cheers, cheers.